Hello Totem, this is Chris, how you doing? So this is my object. I guess we had to pick an object, and it was hard actually going home picking objects or an object and trying to think objects of the future, of the past, and thinking objects which are loaded with lots of memories and some which are very subtle. So there's something interesting about memories, and I just picked the one actually which was the most palpable and most recent sense of object, and it is a bit odd, but at the same time I think it tells a story. It might help us understand what objects mean to people in different contexts. This is a glass, and I'm gripping it with tissue for no good reason, but that's part of the story. I was in a meeting, I think probably 8 weeks ago, and it was a staff meeting, and there was probably 8 members of staff in landscape architecture, all discussing landscape architecture issues, and we were discussing something or other, and then someone's phone went off, and it was an iPhone. It was Alan Johnson's phone went off, and it was obviously someone important because he looked at it, and I think he was prepared to dismiss them, but then realised, oh, I better take this. So he left the room, and we just had lunch, and on the table he got up and he left a glass behind and some sandwiches and some crumbs. And he left the room, and then 2 minutes later the door opened just slightly ajar, and he pointed at the head of school and Donald Urquhart, who was another member of staff, and Alan left through the ajar, and John Murray left, the head of school, and so did Donald. And then a minute later, John came back in looking a bit stunned and said to everybody, Alan's been asked to leave the campus because he attended a meeting 7 days prior at which somebody has since rang in to say that they might have swine flu. And subsequently it's taken a week for the system, the bureaucracy of Edinburgh College of Art, to suggest that anybody who's also in attendance at that meeting may need to be quarantined. So the phone call was to say that, Alan, get off campus, go and quarantine yourself in your house, and please do not come back. So Alan, we never saw Alan again. Donald was called outside because he was in attendance at the meeting, but Donald wasn't given the call. So Donald was in this peculiar idea of, have I got it, have I not? I was there, but the system doesn't know I was there. So it was a very, very, very strange appearance, but Donald left. John, everyone else was a bit stunned, and we never saw Alan for a week, but he was fine. And this was what was left. And in that moment of where the dust balls roll across the plains of utter silence, as everyone thinking, have I got it? Oh, everyone's, paranoia, complete paranoia. I thought I'd take a glass, because the glass might have been the last time we'd seen Alan alive. So it seemed this kind of peculiar moment of, and it turns out that it's a perfectly safe glass. But I still grip it with some tissue because there was this inference that it was full of allergy, and even now, whatever bugs it has got on it have grown anyway, so it's a pretty unpleasant, I don't know if the camera's showing that at all, but it's not a very nice glass and it needs to go in the dishwasher very soon. But it was an interesting idea of the object, and now the object is loaded with an idea of memory and idea of virus, and also my peculiar awareness of what the system thinks of the virus, that the powers that be, they didn't quarantine the room that everyone had this meeting in, they didn't contact the right people, they only contacted Alan. So it just seems that peculiar idea of when a memory, and what a memory is and what a virus is, and they seem to be connected. So sorry it's a bit of a long story, but that's my object. Thanks Totem.